And look, I know Dio was very critical of what the Patriots did in the draft, too, because of that exact thing. But here's what DeAndre Hopkins said on Twitter to address the critics, like Dio, essentially, on his move. He said, I always loved having haters and doubters, but I appreciate it even more now. Tighten up. Okay, so from what we know, DeAndre Hopkins met with both the Patriots and the Titans. And so here he is now, obviously, looks like he's going to sign with the Titans. But let's go to you first here, Mike Tannenbaum. Do you think he made the right move?
No, I think he should have signed with the New England Patriots because he would have been the best player on a team that could have won the AFC East and even more guys had he gone there. So to me, I understand you want to go where the money is, but at the end of the day, as a wide receiver signing in July, guys, if you sign with the best opportunity, that puts you in a great place for March of 2024 where he could have been the preeminent wide receiver, maybe even in front of Odell Beckham Jr. So he would have been the focal point of a New England Patriot offense that should be better with Bill O'Brien and a great defense. So I understand why he followed the money, but the better football opportunity was in New England.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to disagree. Although I initially said that I thought the best fit was New England, but at the end of the day, I'm a former player. Okay, at the end of the day, it's about the money. It's about the money. That's where he got the most money. Down in Tennessee. And here's what I'm going to say. We had a graphic on Get Up earlier this morning, and it had the most touchdowns for the Tennessee Titans last year. You know who had the most touchdowns? The head coach, Mike Vrabel, had more touchdowns than any other receiver on the Tennessee Titans roster. So now you bring in DeAndre Hopkins into the mix, and what he's going to do, not only will he be the number one receiver for the Tennessee Titans, but obviously I think, a guy like, Derrick Henry is going to think, it's a huge deal for him because what teams always try to do with the Tennessee Titans is they try to gang up on Derrick Henry as far as the running game is concerned. Now you got D-Hop on the outside. Teams are going to have to respect D-Hop. He's not a burner. He's not going to run past you. But the one thing that DeAndre Hopkins is going to do, any ball thrown in his vicinity, he's going to catch the ball. He's going to be the number one guy. We know that they got Treylon Burks last year in the draft, but we saw how slow his development was last year. So getting DeAndre Hopkins, he automatically becomes the number one in Tennessee.
Of Tennessee versus New England, Bill Belichick and the Patriots absolutely blew this. You're comfortable giving Jonnu Smith a 4-year, $50 million contract, but you're not comfortable paying one of the top wide receivers of the last decade.
Yeah, what's interesting to me, while we all thought DeAndre Hopkins should have gone to New England, I think Coach Belichick gave us some hints a couple weeks ago when they extended Devontae Parker, who's played well when he's been available for New England. They signed Juju Smith-Schuster, and maybe it's Tyquan Thornton, last year's second-round pick, that he believes in. So when Coach Belichick has a belief in players, he's going to put a value on them. And obviously, he didn't want to extend to get DeAndre Hopkins, even though I think he would have been hugely consequential to Mac Jones's development.
We know that Coach Belichick dropped the ball last year. You went out and hired a defensive coordinator as your offensive play caller.
They ain't calling that, though.
And tremendously set back your second-year quarterback. And now your quarterback is going into, Mac Jones is going into a pivotal year. Obviously, you bring in Bill O'Brien, which is that's a huge addition, probably the most, impactful addition that the New England Patriots, have this offseason. But again, when you look at the Patriots on offense, where's the guy that you got a game plan against on the outside? They don't have one. They don't have a guy when it's third down, the defense is man-to-man, where Mac Jones can say, I know I got a guy that I know can win one-on-one. They don't have that. They have a couple nice pieces, okay? They got Juju Smith-Schuster. They got Devontae Parker, who they just gave an extension to, but they don't have that alpha number one outside.
Can I bring up something that you brought up, obviously, is the Bill O'Brien factor now with the New England Patriots. Obviously, he was the head coach of the Texans when DeAndre Hopkins left there in Houston. Do you think that maybe plays into this a little bit? Because when I was on SportsCenter, I think, Damien Woody, you were with me, and Mike T, I believe you were too, and the whole sentiment was, don't let him leave the building there in New England, essentially. Well, he did. And now I just wonder, maybe, is the Bill O'Brien factor a thing? Mike T, what do you think?
Yeah, Shae, it's a fascinating point. I agree with what we discussed a couple weeks ago, Shae, which was if he's in the building, recruit him, sign him, don't let him go. It's interesting. Tim Kelly's the offensive coordinator of the Tennessee. He was in Houston. Maybe that went better. When Bill O'Brien was the head coach, a lot of people thought the GM, Bill O'Brien, let down the head coach in Bill O'Brien. So that could have been an X factor, absolutely, because I'm hard-pressed to think if I'm DeAndre Hopkins, that if I want to have a chance again to win and thrive, New England certainly was the better place, in my opinion, than Tennessee. So I wonder, at the end of the day, the hard feelings that go back to that trade to Arizona may have carried the day here.
So when you take a look at the options DeAndre Hopkins had, there weren't any other contenders clamoring to pay him that level. Of course, we know Tennessee gives him 2 years, $26 million, $3 million in incentives. It's smart to go to the place where you can make the most money. He's 31 years old. And taking a look at what the Patriots had, they had cap space, $15 million, that they could have worked something out here. So to me, this is Bill Belichick dropping the ball, blowing it, and hurting his third-year quarterback in the process.
Well, the good news is the Tennessee Titans do now have a true number one, and they need it. Only twice last season did a tight receiver go over 85 yards. Now they have someone they can rely on, hopefully, here to push them over the edge. And you're right, whoever plays quarterback actually gets a weapon that can boost their strengths. Currently signed through the 2024 season, he has a cap hit of $27.2 million this upcoming year, and then a whopping $59.5 million the following year. So I know this seems a little far-fetched considering how much we talked about Dak Prescott and his contract just, what was that, 2 years ago? I've lost track of time. But nonetheless, it's a reality in Dallas that they have not been at the level of success that they want to be. How long does Dak Prescott have, truly, in Dallas? How far does he have to go for this franchise to say, this continues to be our guy? Mike T., what do you think?
You know, probably win a playoff game, but he had a bad year last year, Shae. We all know that. League-leading 17 interceptions. But he's been a really good quarterback for a long time. So you get a playoff win, that will tamp down the noise. But I think the two other questions you have to say is, who's going to replace him and how much is that quarterback going to cost? So franchise quarterbacks don't grow on trees. I expect them to have a bounce-back year and tamp down all this noise.
Damien?
Yeah, I would say at minimum, get back to the divisional round, where they got eliminated last year. And I agree with Mike T. Everyone wants to look at quarterbacks and be like, oh, we want to move on to the next tour. Well, where are you going to get them from? They're like these franchise quarterbacks, they're hard to find. Dak Prescott has been a very good quarterback throughout his career, albeit, last year was a setback, but there are reasons why Dak Prescott had so many interceptions last year, and they are correctable. I think Dak Prescott is going to bounce back this upcoming year. And again, I think that for me, the minimum has to be the division round for Dak Prescott and the Cowboys.
Okay, I feel like the bar is a little low, though. Neither one of you out of the gates are Super Bowl or bust. I mean, divisional round, they have to win a playoff game. This is a team that has a ton of weapons on both sides of the ball.
See, I know this game you're playing here, Shae. See, you trying to goad me or somebody and it just, picking the cow. I did this before. I've gotten burned by the Cowboys before. So for me, listen, win a playoff game and anything after that is like gravy as it relates to the Dallas Cowboys. That's as far as I can go right now.
This is a very low bar, Courtney.
Yeah, the bar seems like we move the goalposts with this team because every year it feels like with Dallas it's Super Bowl or bust. That's why I say it's NFC Championship or bust in order for Dak Prescott to get that contract extension, because otherwise you're signing up for more of the same. This is a team that had the number one offense twice in the last couple of years. 2019, they missed the postseason. 2021, they lose in the wild card round. I understand that franchise quarterbacks aren't available all the time, and there would probably be some other teams out there that would be willing to bring Dak Prescott in and give it a shot. But how much are you willing to give up for somebody who, when you've seen his core around him at its best, there's that ceiling on this team that they haven't been able to break through. And we know this year why it's so pivotal for Dak Prescott going into, I believe, year 7 for him in Dallas, longest tenured quarterback of any team, year 8 of any team in the NFL. Everything's improved around him. Brandon Cooks, Luke Schoonmaker, Ronald Jones, of course, Tony Pollard's going to be in the mix. Like, everything is there for him to succeed. If he can't get this team to the NFC Championship game, why are you going to sign up for more of the same mediocrity and more of the same failed expectations that they've had year after year since he's been their quarterback?
But you know what? You haven't brought up the main thing here for me. We don't even know what the play calling will look like for Mike McCarthy. The last time we saw Mike McCarthy call plays in 2008, He got fired.
Yeah,
he got fired from Green Bay. Now, do I think Mike McCarthy, will be able to, right the ship and learn from some of the mistakes that he made in Green Bay? I do think he'll be able to. But that's one, to me, that is the biggest X factor when we talk about the Cowboys.
Incredibly difficult pass concepts, route concepts. We've heard quarterbacks talk about just how hard this offense is when you're in a rut to be able to right the ship. Mike McCarthy did that with Aaron Rodgers all those years. And yeah, he ended up losing his job in 2018. You'd like to think that the time away that he's had to evaluate his scheme and all of the things offensively, I don't think the offense is the problem here. I think the quarterback will end up being the fall guy here if things don't go well, if he doesn't have the bounce back year in 2023. And then you've got to ask yourself, if you're Dallas, if you're Jerry Jones, who believe he's in his 80s, he said that he wants another Super Bowl and he's getting up there. Do you want to sign up for more of the same, or do you want to try to go trade for a veteran? Because they're never going to be in a spot where they can draft somebody high up. They're never going to be that bad. They're never going to tank. They're never going to put themselves in that situation. But if you're okay being always I've said this about several teams before. If you're okay not being belle of the ball but always invited to the dance, that's the Dallas Cowboys right now. They're relevant. They sell out games. They are always in the playoff picture, but can they actually take that step to get to the NFC Championship game to prove, hey, Dak is what we think he is? And year 8 showed it. I'm not so sure they're going to get there.
Mike T.
Yeah, I think perception is different than reality. When you look at them versus Philadelphia, last year Philadelphia outscored Dallas by a total of 10 points. And on the other side of the ball, Dallas's defense gave up 2 points less than Philadelphia. So the difference between those two teams is razor thin. And I think the difference this year is going to be this. Last year, Dak led the league in interceptions. That's been well reported. He had 17. But 11 of those were when they had the lead or the game was tied. That's unacceptable. And I think the combination of Mike McCarthy and Brian Schottenheimer, the offensive coordinator at the Jets, someone that D. Wood and I are very familiar with, I think that's where we're going to see a massive change, which is don't force the ball with a championship defense when we have the lead or so when the game is tied. Let the other team win the game by having to beat Micah Parsons and company. So I think Dak will play better. I think he'll play more efficient. And I think this team will stand toe-to-toe all season long with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.